He's been an award-winning media personality and producer. As a speaker, he's empowered over 1 million people from the stage. Now one of the leading business coaches and brand experts is taking over the world of on-demand audio. It's the Business Bully Podcast. Now here's the business bully himself, Dave Anderson.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the show. Just wanted to do a quick intro before I let this rip. This is a keynote I gave in just a suburb of Philadelphia called Delaware County Community College. They were having a kind of like an expo thing where they had an assload of speakers and workshops and things there for the students to think about, especially those who are of African American descent. And I thought that some of the points in this keynote was kind of cool. So I just want to let it rip. If you get some value out of it, let me know. You know where to find me. I appreciate you. So here it is. Hey. Y'all got to keep clapping. It's a long walk down these steps, damn it. All right, so I'm going to get the camera to my man and we're going to roll. You know, you got to turn that thing around. Yeah, got you.
What's up, people? Man, oh man, this is an amazing crowd. I am so excited. Yo, my man got the Killmonger. I'm working on it. I love that right there. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dave Anderson. I am a graduate of Temple University. I am the son of a single mom for the Richard Allen Projects. See what else I can tell you. I have a brother. He's a cop. I've got a wife, 2 daughters. My oldest daughter is a college student, so this is the first time that I've done a lecture on a college campus since having a college student. And it's a different type of mindset now than what it was when I was in college 20 years ago. Stop, look, damn. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't feel that old yet. Like, sitting here at 40, I don't feel old yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was in college, I was like, man, by the time I'm 40, I'm going to have 3 yachts. I'm going to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had all these things that I thought I was going to have because at that point, 40 was old. And then I used to look at people and say, life begins at 40. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's a couple of things that I'm going to say that your professors are going to inherently disagree with. So I don't care. I've already got the check. So let's talk honestly. I was a kid who grew up in the hood who was told that I needed to be in special education. Keep in mind, I completed reading War and Peace by the time I was 5 years old. There was nothing dumb about me. But because they had certain quotas to fill, and they decided that it was important to create a program called special education to put young black men in, they tried to make me Agent Zero. And luckily for me, I had a mother who was a teacher in the school district, and she wasn't going for that. And I had a daddy who worked for the federal government, and he wasn't going for that. And so I'm letting you know that sometimes you got to look at your professors and your teachers and say, I'm not going to go for that. We're taught a lot, and it's partially my fault, and it's my parents' fault. As an elder, we tell y'all to sit down, shut up, pull your pants up, cut your hair. All of that is absolutely wrong. I don't know if y'all noticed this amazing mohawk I'm rocking. I have closed $1 million deals in this mohawk. I wore a collared shirt just to tell Dave I was going to wear a collared shirt. He knows I usually show up in t-shirts, but I want to respect this man for having me here. For me, I want to tell you something. When you look, and I'm speaking, and no offense to my white folks, this has nothing to do with you. I'm just going to talk to black people really quickly because I have to speak from my own lens for a moment. Historically speaking, when you look at leadership, and when you look at growth, and you look at how we're taught to be professional in a corporate structure, a lot of that stuff comes from slavery. Let's examine for a moment. The first thing you'll notice is that when you are applying for a job, and I'll get back to that in a minute, but when you're applying for a job, they'll say, oh, well, what degree do you have? Where is it from? You know, what have you done? Where were your internships? Who are your references? Blah, blah, skibbity, bop, bop, bop. And so what you do is you show them your degree, a copy of your degree. And back in the day, around the late 1800s, you had people who were enslaved, and you had people who were free, who had never been enslaved, and people who were given their freedom. And in order for you to walk around freely, you had to show them your papers. The Bible was kept from enslaved African people because if they read it for themselves, they would see skin of bronze and hair like wool. And that in and of itself raises some questions. Because then the guy that you see in church every Sunday who's got blonde hair and blue eyes is kind of like, this doesn't add up. So then you go to another book and you realize that that guy is actually a Cesare Borgia, and his father, the Pope, decided to commission Michelangelo to give people a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. And I mean, that's just great marketing. I'm not mad at that from a business perspective, but psychologically it jacks you up. And so what winds up happening is African slaves would meet in silence under penalty of death to praise God. And so they would put on the best tattered rags they got handed down from their masters or their overseers. And that became their clothes. And that was the best thing they had. And so they wore their Sunday best. Catch these bars. What I'm trying to get you to understand is, at the end of the day, none of that stuff matters. I only care about one thing and one thing only, and that's results. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you came from. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're mixed. I don't care if you have locks. I don't care if you dye your hair. I don't care if you got a septum pierce, a thought dot, 2 tongue rings, and an abricot coming out your neck. I don't care. We need to stop allowing traditional norms to dictate our level of success. Now, I'm very lucky. I had a mother who allowed me to imagine. And my mother, when I was a kid, she took me to Broadway. And I saw Peter Pan. And I was like, damn, he's flying around this mother. Yo, this is ill. But that wasn't what got me. What got me, there was this song in that play. And Peter Pan stood proudly wearing his ridiculous outfit that I can only describe as a combination of Sprite from Green Giant and Robin from Batman and Robin. And he said, I won't grow up. I don't want to wear a tie or a serious expression in the middle of July. If growing up is awfuler than all the awful things that ever were, I won't grow up. Never grow up. Never grow up. Not me. And so everybody wants you to be so mature. Everybody wants you to be like them. Everybody wants you to conform. So, let's talk about conformity for a moment, shall we? They will tell you that there's something wrong with what you're wearing. You don't look right. You're not wearing this. And even your peers will tell you, well, he's not rocking Jordan, so there's something wrong with him. You know, or they're not wearing this label or that label, there's something wrong with them. And the truth of the matter is, all that stuff that you're dictated into believing is cool came from some boardroom with about a bunch of people who don't even look like you. Cool is nothing but conformity with better PR. And so as I moved through the world, I realized that I was different and I was okay with being different. I was never going to be a thin kid. My daddy was a mammoth of a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got linebackers in my family. It's not an uncommon thing. I was never going to be that. And then you factor in, health and genetic conditions. It was just never going to happen. So I didn't worry about that. I played to my strengths. And so while my friends were talking about they wanted to be doctors and lawyers, I said, I want to be on the radio, and everybody laughed. So let's review. Wendy Williams, Ricky Smiley, DJ Clue, Charlemagne. Nobody laughs at me anymore because I built $1 million radio empires. How many people right now have a smartphone? How many people have the iHeartRadio app on that smartphone? You're welcome. I was on the digital team, the only person, black or white, on that digital team to take that iHeartRadio app and make it functional for different tablets, different devices, having bios added on, having smart responsive playlists. A good 8 years before there was a Spotify. Did I get a check for that? Yeah, a little one. Not as big as I wanted it to be because it was a work for hire. Which brings me to my next point. You have to understand America. America is a business. And it's a great business because it's built on one thing and one thing alone. The laziness of others. Catch these bars. When you look at a mall, and you say, damn, you know what, I can add a couple more levels if people were able to walk up these stairs, but most of these people are too fat or too lazy. Elevator, escalator. oh, I can make this airport much bigger if I could just get people from one side to the other, moving sidewalks. All of these things come down to laziness. There's an app for that. There's always some type of invention for people's laziness. Heck, lazy people are the reason that black people are in this country. Because there's certain people who wanted to sit mid-julep and still get their cotton picked. I'm sorry, is that not history? I'm sorry. Am I not allowed to tell the truth? Okay, so if we understand that the foundation of the country is based on people's laziness, then all you have to do is work a little differently. And there's your money. Does somebody have a smartphone I can borrow for a moment? Other than mine, because mine is taping right now. If I could just really quickly, I'm not going to do anything with it. You ain't got to, get any weird selfies or nothing. Somebody just bring this. I don't want y'all to toss it because I ain't paying for it. I'll tell y'all that right now. This is not that kind of party. Thank you so much. I want to demonstrate something to y'all real quick. No, I'm good. Thank you so much. This right here, this thing right here, this thing is an empire builder, and most of you use it wrong. Most of you are focused on selfies and duck lips, bathroom poses, and things that aren't going to make you money. I focus on finding different ways to become an icon with this thing. There is more technology in this phone than was on the initial moon landing, and we could get into conspiracy tinfoil hat debates as to whether or not there was a moon landing, but I met Buzz Aldrin, and there's a reason he doesn't have any of his spacesuits. And he said that he wanted to take the dust from his spacesuits from the moon, and they told him no. So that tells me the man was on the moon. Because when he's like, no, I can't really talk about this on the air, but he's telling me to my face. You see what I'm saying? So if there's more technology in this thing than was to put a man on the moon, why aren't you using it effectively? There's no one in here outside of people who have mental difficulties who shouldn't have a 4.0 when all the answers to any question you can ever possibly ask is right here. You're not asking the right questions. So, thank you. Just wanted to have a visual on me. No, I'm not going to toss it. So, no. So, when I was about 20, I was doing radio. I was good at what I was doing, but I made a decision to cross over from doing talk radio to doing hip hop. Why? Because hip hop was everything in me. And so I went and I started working at Radio 1, and that lasted for a good while. I wound up interning at Radio 1. And I was the kind of person that you weren't going to get rid of me because my determination beats your arrogance and your ego every single time. You're not going to outwork me. You're not going to tell me that I can't have what I want because I'm Dave Anderson, damn it. The end. Get into it. And I don't think enough of us have that level of confidence, and most of you are better looking than me and better shaped than me. Most of you are much younger than me, but yet still, I'm here and you're there. Get into it. I'm saying this not to insult you, but to start to spark something in your brain. So I'm there as an intern, and there was a producer who shall remain nameless, who's no longer in the industry. But he did everything in his power to keep me out of the industry. I would go and do his busy work. I need you to research this and that and that and this and this and that and get it back to me in 10 minutes. I get it back to him in 5. I need you to be here at 5 a.m. I'd be there at 4 with donuts, coffee, piping hot. I did not play. I can tell you exactly how Wendy Williams likes her tea.
How'd she like it?
Hot, a little bit of honey, very little sugar because it messes with her. Now that she's vegan, I'm not even sure she's doing the honey thing anymore. So, you tried me, but that's okay. I ain't mad at it. Give it up for the cameraman, y'all. The thing of it is, every time he tried to push me out, I got done what he needed me to get done, and I was right back where I needed to be, in that studio. A lot of you are not getting the opportunities you want because you have not consistently shown up, and you decided to take no for an answer. No. See, the problem is, in my mind, my eyes are a mirror. So all I do is reflect that back, and if you put no backwards, it's on, and it's on. And I'm lit. That's it. There's nothing I can't do. And so what wound up happening is that guy got caught up in a corruption scandal, and they needed somebody to produce that show, and here I am, 20, knowing everything about everybody on the show, having built trust, having been reliable, having showed up early and left late, having put together promos, staying late night in the studio, sleeping on the couch to the point where Cat Hughes tapped me on my foot and said, "Boy, what are you doing on my couch?" And I said, well, I got to be here just in case something happens. And she said, that's cool, but when I come in, you don't get on my couch. I said, how am I supposed to know when you're going to be there? She said, you don't. So I better see you working. And that was one of 2 conversations I ever had with Kathy Hughes. But I got the message and she understood that I was there whenever she showed up. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I got that dude's job, not because I was the most qualified producer in the world. I was 20-year-old snot-nosed junior at Temple University. But I was gifted, I was talented, and most of all, I was consistent and relentless. Gifted, talented, consistent, relentless. It's not about how smart you are. It's what you do with your brain that matters. And let me tell you something about expertise. Let me tell you something about the guru world, because a lot of y'all are into these gurus, and I know most of them personally, and most of them are foolish. Most of them are not giving you an idea of what it is. When I was a kid, say about 24, 25, I had a buddy who got a record deal with 50 Cent G, and his name was Young Buck. And so I was doing nights in Nashville, Tennessee at the time. And the one thing that I always thought was interesting was how many cars would come in for a video shoot. And I knew Buck. Like, Buck's up on my couch. You know what I'm saying? I know he didn't have the money for that Bugatti, but it's rented. I never thought I'd see the day where business experts and gurus and motivational speakers were renting Airbnbs and Lamborghinis to impress you to buy a $67 program, and then you guys eat it up because they're selling you the lifestyle, but they don't sell you the life. So allow me to show you what the life of an entrepreneur actually is. It's a whole lot of no's. It's very, very lonely. See, some of you may get caught up in having a lot of friends on your friends list, having a lot of people who you hang out with and, you feel good about, but I'm happy to have 5 friends. My best friend I met when I was 17, the very same moment I met my wife. They're not the same person if that's where you think I'm going, but see, So what wound up happening was I was in this program because I went to Martin Luther King High School. And for those of you who know where Martin Luther King High School in Philadelphia is, you can imagine the quality of my education as a high school student. So, I sucked on the SATs. Let me get this straight, because a lot of entrepreneurs will come up here and tell you how great their grades were and everything was a cakewalk and they were some kind of boy genius building stuff in their dorm when they actually stole it. But conversation for another day. So I got a 740 on my SATs. Now keep in mind that you get spotted 400 points for signing your name. And it wasn't that I'm dumb, because my IQ test will probably make your head swim, but I'm a different kind of learner. So how in the world in America can you tell students to be one thing and be who they are and be an individual and reach that brass ring, and you're teaching them all the same? I respond to experiences. I respond to interaction. I respond to debates. I respond to research, numbers, analytics. If someone had sat me down and said to me, Mr. Anderson, this person wants to come to you and they want you to invest in their business. They want $300,000 for 30% of their business. I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds. Okay, it's 30%. Okay, so it's $1 million valuation. How many have they sold? Okay, well, they've sold this many. See, that to me is the math I love. H plus 3 equals 8 doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I'm gonna be real with you. So I failed algebra. Sorry. I did not want to cut open a frog, so I failed biology. I'm sorry. But can somebody say the number 15 out loud?
15.
I have 15 number 1 best-selling books. Get into it. I have spoken in front of 4 presidents. The last 4, not this guy. Get into it. I am what is known as the father of the modern podcast, all with a bad set of grades. Now, I picked those grades up and I did well, but I was never the studious student type of dude. And you don't need to be the studious student type of dude or girl or whatever the case may be. But I'm trying my best to let you know that when I got to school, they put me in a remedial program. And thank God they did. So I met this guy named Frank, and Frank is like, yo, Dave, there's this class I was in that you're not in, but you got to meet these twins. And I'm like, okay, Frank, let me break this down for you. When my mommy and daddy love each other, they make love, and then there's an egg and a sperm and an embryo, and sometimes an embryo splits. Twins are not an uncommon thing. Why am I wasting my time? He said, dude, calm down. Come meet these twins. So I go and I walk around the corner and I see these two girls. One is kind of tomboyish, real cool chick. And I see this other one and it looks like God just made her for me. And when I tell you, you know how they say that the sun rises and sets on somebody? It was the sun, it was the moon, it was the stars, it was Mars, it was the cosmic event, it was a wormhole, it was everything that I'd ever seen. And I asked my daddy, when he met my mom, how he knew. He said, I was at a Christmas party and your mother walked in and everything stopped. And I had to get a better view, so I turned my chair around and looked at her. And I walked up to her and I said, excuse me, my name is Carl Anderson and I'm going to marry you. I said, whoa, Dad, how did you know? And he said, I got a feeling inside of me that just would not let me go. I had a feeling inside of me I never had before. And it's that feeling that is the reason that I've never remarried. That I'll never marry anybody again because your mother, even though we divorced, she's still for me. So, I see this other twin. And before Frank could say anything, I step up, I say, yo, my name's Dave Anderson and you're going to marry me. She says, you're crazy. I said, you know what, you're absolutely right, but what does that have to do with what I just told you? You're going to marry me. And she said, you're nuts. Again, not the point. So let's go out. No. Can we go out? No. But in all this, her sister's sitting there laughing her ass off at me. And so we became good friends. And what wound up happening is me and her sister became best friends. And, you know, the funny thing about destiny is that it's always going to lead you to exactly where you need to be. So I went off and I lived my life. She went off and she lived her life. I conquered the world, did everything that I wanted to do. I came home. And this was after I left Ricky Smiley and became homeless. See, again, I'm going to tell you all the ugly stuff. Because the ugly stuff is important and people like to gloss over the ugly parts. But I wound up losing everything, not because I did anything wrong, but because I wanted something more for Ricky than Ricky wanted for himself at the time. Because Ricky wanted to do a sitcom, I told him to do a reality show. He didn't want to listen to me. So Ricky went off and did the sitcom, and that sitcom was the worst rated show in TV One history. Then he turned around and dusted off the pilot we did. And that Ricky Smiley for real that you see is now the #1 show on TV One. I was right. I'm okay with being right because history is always going to prove me right. I'm also okay with being wrong. But what I'm not okay with is sitting back and letting somebody fall off the cliff and I know they're going to fall off the cliff. And sometimes watching somebody fall off the cliff and you having to save them means that you might have to sacrifice yourself in the process. So that's how I wound up homeless. So I come home, I was in my brother's garage. I was kind of depressed because people began to call me Radio Tupac, meaning that I would lose a job and I'd just get a better one. And nobody was ever worried about me because I just kept getting better jobs. And everybody thought that somebody else had hired me. Or everybody thought that somebody else couldn't hire me because I had a non-compete. Neither of which was true. The truth of the matter was I had burned through all of my savings. I had a 2,500 square foot apartment in Arlington, Texas, down from where the Cowboys play, across the street from Six Flags over Texas. I was winning. I had a driver. I flew private. I loved my life. It was good. And then I lost it all. And the funny thing was I didn't change my number, but the people who were my friends just suddenly forgot it. So that's why I'm saying you have to hang on. So getting back to the whole wife thing. So she lived her life, I lived my life, and then finally my best friend calls me and she says, hey Dave, I'm getting married. I said, oh, okay, well who's the guy? I want to kill him because this is my best friend and I never heard about this guy. So I go and meet the guy, he's a nice guy, cool. She's like, well, you gotta be in the wedding. I'm like, I'm not gonna be no bridesmaid, like I'm your best friend, but yeah, I mean, masculinity precludes me from participating in that way. She said, no, you'll be one of Kev's groomsmen. I said, all right, cool, I like Kev. She's like, you know, Janae's gonna be there. I think you should come up to Michigan and we'll all sit down and we'll talk. And we go to Janae's apartment. I walk up the steps. She had a walk up. So I walk up the steps and time stopped. Lightning, thunder, sun, moon, stars, black holes, wormholes, you know, everything you could ever pop. It was just, I was 17 again. And we would hang out, we would talk, and we would exchange emails and texts and things of that nature. And I decided one day I was going to go see her, so I flew up there. And we talked, and I said, listen, I love you. I've always loved you. I want to be with you. What's up? And she said, yeah, you're right, it's time. Period. And that woman, that former Victoria's Secret lingerie model, now has my 2 children. Yeah, no, I stay winning. You're not going to tell me what I can't have. I'm Dave Anderson. Get into it. What I'm trying to get you to understand is you're limited by what somebody else told you. You're limited by somebody else's expectations, and you haven't set your own. You haven't demanded anything from yourself as of yet because you don't know what it is that you want, because you're constantly being fed and inundated with Snapchats about BS that don't really matter, and TMZ when Harvey Levin's got an ass load of money and a bunch of real housewives that really ain't real at all. And I'm not even going to get into the fact that I've lived in Potomac, Maryland, that I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia, that I've lived in Dallas, and there are plenty of black women who are affluent in all those places, but somehow they wind up in Atlanta and that's it. And you don't think that's by design. When you go to Auckland and they say to you, wow, I can't believe you're how you are. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because when I see black people on TV, I see X, Y, and Z. So, I'm going to say this specifically to the black women in the room. You are what you eat, but you're more of what you consume. And what you consume sends a message to the people who are creating the media that frames the framework of how the world sees you. So be very careful what you do with your eyes and your ears. It's almost as important to what it is you do with your body. I hope y'all caught that. So, for me, I'm always on the hunt for the next thing. So I want to talk about my failures before I get into my successes, and then we'll do Q&A if that's all right. In 2001, I was in radio. I was in a place called Jacksonville, North Carolina, just in the shadows of a place called Camp Lejeune, and then 9/11 happened. So all the Marines just scattered out of town. And so commercials kind of went down. People didn't want to advertise because it was basically a ghost town. And so I had to find a way to do other things. And so I started doing voiceovers. But then with voiceovers, it gets expensive because you have to put them on a reel. Then you have to take that reel to FedEx, and then it has to be shipped overnight. And I'm like, yo, I can send the same commercial through an MP3 via email. And everybody's like, nobody's going to do that. That's stupid. I said, I don't care what you say. I want to do it anyway. And so I created a company called mp3imaging.com. It was a great success. 5 years later, I ate my shirt on that one. I failed. I was too early. In 2004, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and there was a guy named Aaron Hardison, and he came up to me and he said, listen, I got this idea called hitmeonthehip.com. And I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds cool. And so we got together and we started marketing, and I went and had all different types of endorsers, everybody from Jay-Z to Birdman, all these people who did off the strength of my relationships. And we were rolling, but people didn't get it because they were still stuck on their two-way pages. I was just a little early because smartphone technology hadn't hit yet. If it had, it'd be a mess. But what wound up happening was I got a deal to go to Austin, so I signed that contract, and Aaron went on to create a company called CameraPhonePorn.com. It made him $45 million. I ain't mad at the brother. You know, I don't judge. Look, hey, you can act like people don't have sex, but if they didn't, none of you would be here. You see what I'm saying? Like, we got to stop acting like we're prudes in public because we're afraid that someone else is watching us. And we got to start talking about the realness. And so I took an L on that. Let me see what else. Another big L. Oh, so I got the K104 in Dallas. And if you know anything about radio history, and some of you do, some of you don't, there was this guy named Tom Joyner. That was the guy I always wanted to be. And Tom Joyner was the first person to have 2 shows in 2 different markets, in 2 different time zones at the same damn time. So he would do K104 in the morning and then fly and do afternoons in Chicago, and he would repeat this back and forth, back and forth. So K104 had so much money, jocks would get $1 million contracts. And if you were in Dallas, it was literally the Cowboys, the Mavericks, and the K104 Super Jocks. So when I got that call up, I didn't hesitate, I didn't pass go, I didn't collect $200, I went. And I only made 80 grand. Because the economy changed. You know, 9/11 and then, you know, oil and ISIS and terrorism. So, you know, I got there and there was a guy who was doing afternoons, but he wanted to pursue a career in Hollywood. And so he was programming at the time, and he would say to me, listen, I need you to fill in for my show. And I would fill in for his show. And while he was gone, they did what's called a perceptual study. Does anybody know what a perceptual study is? A perceptual study is when they take a bunch of people and they ask them who they listen to, why they listen to them, what they like about them, who their favorite talent is, all that kind of stuff. And when the report came back, not only did my ratings beat his in his own time slot, but he came back to an audience that was so used to me they had forgotten about him. But he was the boss. And just like Andre Harrell fired Puff Daddy, this guy fired me because there can't be two lions in the jungle. I failed. I don't take the Ricky Smiley thing as a failure because I took a guy who nobody believed in, who they called a Chitlin Circuit comedian who couldn't read, into somebody who was in 30 markets in the span of 8 to 10 months. So I call that a success. But I take my failures with a grain of salt because every time I failed, I learned something and I got a better skill and I was able to move differently. And when I retired from radio at the age of 34, I focused solely on entrepreneurship. I focused solely on what made people tick. It was to a point when I went to a radio station, the sales staff spent more time with me than the air staff because they knew that I could go in there and close the deals that they couldn't close. Because I spent my life pitching BS. You know what I mean? That's what it is. When you're doing commercials all the time, you know what makes people happy, you know what makes them sad. You know, no one is scared of Jason from Friday the 13th. They're scared of it's that sound that, oh my God, I'm wearing heels in the woods. Oh my God, something's coming. It's the music, it's the sounds, it's the environment. It's never the thing. The thing is never as scary as the way it sounds. And so for me, I want always to go after greatness. And so I created a company that allowed me to do exactly what I do without any rules, without any bosses, without anybody telling me anything. The great thing about the education system is that it teaches you to climb the corporate ladder. The bad thing about the education system is that it teaches you to climb the corporate ladder. It doesn't teach you to build the building upon which the corporate ladder leans. So, if you're going to be here with a purpose. There's always job security for entrepreneurs, but you got to be ready to take a hit in the mouth. You got to be ready to be right on something, but at the wrong time. You got to be ready to take your situation to an entirely new level, even if people tell you you're crazy. And that's the hard part. You got to be willing to tell your mom, I'm going to do this anyway. I don't care if nobody else did it. Oh yeah, I told my mom, I said, oh no, don't go to the South. They'll lynch you. They'll hang you. And every time it just got worse. I went to Fayetteville, North Carolina, left Fayetteville, North Carolina, went to Jacksonville, North Carolina, left Jacksonville, North Carolina, went to Florida. Then I went to Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville? They're really going to hang you. Obviously, I didn't hang, primarily because most of the ropes broke, because I'm kind of heavy. But no, in all seriousness, I can't live my life based upon my mother's fear, and her fear is rational. Because what I didn't know at the time was that my grandfather, James Lewis, was hunted by the Klan. And at 16, he ran to the docks of Virginia and signed up, lied about his age, and went into the Navy. If the Klan had got him, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. And so my mother has an inherent fear of the Klan that I didn't understand. I knew what the Klan was, but I didn't know that story until I was like 39. So I just found this out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know my grandfather was running from the Klan because he stood up and got into a fight with some dude, and that dude just happened to have a sheet in the back seat. You follow me? So that logic was her trying to protect her son, because if her son got in a situation like what her father almost got into, God knows. And nobody wants to bury their kid or have to fly down to deal with it. So I get it, but yet still, parents do that. As a parent, I'm scared to death that my child is going to fall off the side of the bed, that she's going to bump her head, but I still let her play soccer, I still let her bounce around. You have to let your kids go. And sometimes you have to help your parents let you go. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck right where they are. They did these studies, and they found that if you put a bunch of monkeys in a cage, this is factual. If you put a bunch of monkeys in a cage, and you put some bananas on a ladder, and you will leave them to their own devices, one monkey will go up, and he'll get that banana. But what they didn't say to the monkeys is they weren't going to prod the other monkeys with electrical shocks every time somebody climbed that ladder. And so they switched all the monkeys out, and after a while, there wasn't an original monkey in the group who knew anything about going for the ladder, but all the monkeys knew not to go for the bananas in the ladder, because they'd been conditioned over time not to go for the bananas, but they didn't understand why. Now, in a room full of mostly black people, I think maybe I shouldn't tell y'all to go for the banana, but what I am saying is there's some conditioning that's happening that's keeping you from your goal. There's some conditioning that's happening that is keeping you from you being great. And I don't want that conditioning to set in. I'm here to tell you to challenge that conditioning. I am proof that that conditioning can be challenged, overcome, destroyed. And I know overcome isn't a word, but damn it sounded good saying it in a collegiate setting. Again, 15. Get into it. So, I'm going to stop running my mouth. I want to do my favorite part of this, which is just Q&A. I want you to ask questions, talk to me about business, social media, marketing. My name is Dave Anderson, and I'm going to shut my mouth and answer your questions. Anybody have a question? Yes, sir. What am I working on right now? Good question. I'm actually flying to Silicon Valley next week to do a project, and I'm working on what I call my answer to Facebook. And it's not another social media site. I don't feel like that's necessary. I do feel as though it's important to do something that's going to allow you to control your audience. So to answer your question, I'm going to give you a demonstration if that's okay. Can everybody, there we go. Can everybody pull out their cell phones? Open your text apps. Let me know when you get there. Say what? You got to turn your phone on? It's okay. It's all right. Somebody give it to you in a minute. All right, everybody got the text apps open? In the two part where you actually want, like the part where you're setting the number, I need you to type 31996. Okay? In the message part, I need you to put in 2 words: business, bully, and then hit send. No, 2 words. Business, bully. 2 words to 31996. Standard text message rate supply. I'm not paying for those either. Ooh. You got it? You done? Cool. So, I got your number. And in a minute, I'll have your email address. And in a couple of minutes, I'll have your birthday. Stop. And the problem with your dependence upon Facebook is that you have underestimated Zucks. You think that Zucks is just this nice little boy genius who doesn't mean any harm, and he doesn't. But he understands that when something is free, then the people who are participating in it are the product. And so you're being bought and sold. So if you believe that Cambridge Analytica is an isolated incident, you're a moron. And I have no sympathy for you. So I'm going to go to Silicon Valley, and I'm creating something that is going to allow you to collect more email addresses legitimately in a way that's going to allow you to communicate your messages to your audience. So if you have a podcast, and everybody should, you'll be able to let people know when new episodes are out. If you have a business, and you should, if you understood the tax codes, everybody in this room should have a business, even if they would love their job, because they have Taco Tuesdays or free wings on Friday, I don't know. But you need to be able to communicate with your audience, and the only way to do that effectively is to control that audience. And the only way you control that audience is to actually own your own audience. Because there's this company called The Shade Room. Anybody ever heard of The Shade Room? Yeah, The Shade Room had 4 million people on Facebook until Zuck said, nah, that's okay. Boom! And with one keystroke, one finger, destroyed The Shade Room's 4 million followers. Like that. Can't get it back. Have to start from scratch. Sorry for you. Take care, cut your hair. And that's just what it is. You have to get control of where people are. Now, the reason I wanted you to text me as opposed to just say, hey, let me get a copy of those email addresses, Dave. is because 98% of individuals all across the world check their text messages, whereas about 63% will check their email. So that's what that is. That's what I'm working on next. That, and I have a new book coming out called Sell It Like Jesus, Principles and Strategies of the World's Greatest Salesman. And before anybody gets offended, I'm a theologian. I have 2 degrees in theology. So I am a minister. I've been ministering since since 2003. So this is not coming from that place. But if you understood the psychology of sales, you would understand, come with me. Come with me and I'll make you fishers of men. Take up your bed and walk. Who do they say I am? All those things are sales techniques. But we don't catch them like that because we view sales as somebody selling a lemon. So I hope that answers your question, man. And I hope that you pay attention to me for the ride, man, because it's going to be interesting. Questions? Bro, you've been looking at me this whole time. If you ain't got a question, I'm shocked. The best tip I can give a young entrepreneur: don't listen to your friends, don't listen to your family. Here's what I know. When I was about 30, I saw this interview Michael Jackson did, and he was talking to this guy. And Michael was walking him all over his house. At this point, he had left Neverland, but he had this studio built in his house. And he points to this guy. I don't remember the guy's name. It's not important to the story. But the point of it was, the interviewer was like, well, what does that guy do? And Michael's like, well, he's my engineer. He's always on call in case I need him. The guy's like, so what, is he free to go? Yeah, he's free to go, but if I need him back here. So he comes and he'll come and engineer something. And he said, well, Michael, why do you have somebody on call 24/7 to engineer a record? And Michael said, without hesitation, and there was like a switch that flipped in his eyes. He was like, I will get inspired. I'll have something come to me from outside of myself in the universe. And if I don't get up right now, and the guy's like, if you don't get up right now, Michael, what? If I don't get up right now and do it, then God's going to give it to Prince. You have to understand, whether you believe in a God or not, that there is a universe out here, and that universe operates in certain universal laws. Here's something for you. The diamonds in my ear, your toenails, your hair are all carbon-based. The sun is a carbon-based entity. So when Moby was saying we're all made of stars, he's saying we're all carbon-based life forms. So for all carbon-based life forms, we come from the same thing. If I chop your arm off, which part of that is you? Is it the arm I'm holding, or is it your body? And if it's your body, then I can just keep chopping, and then which parts of it will be you? None of it. That's why when somebody dies, they say, this is David's body. They don't say, there's David. You understand the difference? And so when you understand that your soul is connected to a force that's bigger than yourself, you also understand that vision was given to you, and it wasn't meant for anybody to understand. A man named Muhammad got a visit from Gabriel and was told that you were going to be the messenger for Allah. And everybody in his hometown of Medina said, you're crazy. So he went over to Mecca, rose up an army, and came back to Medina and showed them what these bars did. That's a fact. A young, unwed teenage mother named Mary was told by the angel Gabriel that she was going to bear the Son of God. And folks thought that she was crazy. Even her husband had a right to take her and stone her because she was supposed to be a virgin. And the angel Gabriel put a stop to that. You see what I'm saying? Messages that you get ain't going to make sense to anybody else because it wasn't for them. Just like if you were to give me a size 11 shoe, I can't do nothing with it. I'm a size 13. Catch that. So don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to your family. If you feel like even the advice I'm giving you is wrong, chuck it. I wish somebody would have told me that. I'd be a billionaire right now. All right, cool. So thank you guys so much, man. I hope I brought some light to y'all. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Got more content coming. I appreciate you always being here for me. As always, make sure you text Business Bully to 31996. 2 words, standard text message and data rates apply. And don't forget to go to audibletrial.com/bully to get your free 30-day Audible trial and free audiobook download. Pitch Close Upsell Repeat is coming soon. I know. I feel like Dr. Dre pushing out Detox, but it's definitely coming. In the meantime, in between time, stay out of your feelings and into your business.
Want free business and marketing tips from Dave? Text Business Bully to 31996. That's Business Bully to 31996. Standard data and text message rates apply.